Hello. Hi, I'm Lise Colucci, and I am one of the life coaches at queenbeing.com, where we help you to discover, understand, and overcome narcissistic abuse in toxic relationships. And hello and welcome. And today I want to talk about rejection after narcissistic abuse. Hello, Tree Hugger. Hello, Karina. Hello, Nick. And whoever else is here, welcome. It's doing its weird delay thing. Hi, Nikki and Butterfly Mama. Keep saying hi so I can say hi through all of this weird glitchy. Hello, Paula from the UK. Hello. Nighttime there, I guess. Probably pretty late, huh? Are you up and unable to sleep? What's going on? So, waiting for the weird delay that it does, and then we'll get going with the topic today. There it is. Hey. Okay. So, today, first of all, I want to start off by saying if you want text notifications of the live streams, text 33222 Lise Live, LISELIVE, all one word, and you will get notifications. So I'm just putting that out ahead of time, and now we'll get going. Love Island, what's that? You're watching Love Island. I don't know what that is, but I don't watch anything. So, okay, so let's talk about rejection after narcissistic abuse. It kind of ties in with yesterday and Monday with talking about the way that a narcissist affects you and the way being sexual with a narcissist affects you. And it sort of ties in with that for some people, but rejection is more widespread because of the devaluing that a narcissist does to you. It can create a trigger where anytime you feel rejection, anytime you feel even the slightest rejection, even if it doesn't match emotionally what you think it should match, it can feel like you're overwhelmingly thrown back into that trauma. You know what I'm talking about? It's the rejection that we face in everyday life, the rejection we face when we put ourselves out there for jobs, for dating, for friends, the rejections that we face even within ourselves when we feel like we failed can feel monumental and like really unsurmountable, and they can knock you way back down when you think you're at a certain level of healing and suddenly you are, on the floor sobbing over a rejection that in hindsight will look like a small thing, or perhaps even a good thing if you think about it logically. Like maybe you're dating someone and it turns out they reject you, when in truth what they're doing is showing their true colors early on and you dodged a bullet perhaps, but that's all logic. That doesn't get into where the trigger actually hits you, which is your emotions and your beliefs about yourself that are set up from the programming and the toxic patterning that happened within the relationship. You're talking about Love Island. Okay. seeing if there's something I needed to reply to. No, you guys keep going. Okay. So rejection. I think most of us have had at least one experience with this in our lives, even outside of narcissistic abuse. Of course, most people have experienced rejection, and it can be hard as it is to feel rejected and to feel that you are not worthy of whatever the situation is that you've been rejected from, right? Whether it be a job or a love interest or friends or social situations or whatever it is. Have your attention. You can keep talking about Love Island. It sounds more like I could float away, but it's good. Okay. So what happens when you have a trigger that is when you have someone turn you down for something, or what happens after narcissistic abuse that feels bigger is that people tend to then go to their lowest belief about themselves. And it feels a lot like the other shoe just dropped. And because often before the rejection comes a high of anticipation and hope, expectation. We're allowing the good in. And then as soon as we allow the good in and we get rejection, we are knocked down, right? And it can flip things upside down and make everything go pear-shaped because we're so used to that cycle. We're so used to that cycle that it just proves what we've known all along, right? And what we've been programmed to believe, that it's number one, it's whatever our belief is about ourselves. It's our fault. We're not good enough. We'll always be this way. People never give me a chance. What's the matter with me? Why am I so different? All of the things that we're programmed to believe from narcissistic abuse, from toxic abuse, and from, parenting that doesn't support us as well. So what do we do? What do you do? What do you do when this happens? Because I think it happens to most people. And I think it happens in a way that it can hit you like blindsided, because you think you're struggling right now and needed the 7 days longest rejection my narcissist has done. Okay, well, a narcissist, let me just back up there. Let me finish what you said. I'm going to put it out there, as I've been hiding it. Mine was a female, and I don't consider myself okay. But they always come after me. All right. So with a narcissist, when we're talking about a narcissist, I don't consider that rejection. I consider that part of the game that they play, the devaluing and the discard cycle, right? And then this is what sets up when we have rejections in life, or things that don't turn out the way we hope they will, which feel like rejections. What you're talking about sets up what comes later, which is we don't have the narcissist around anymore, and we still react from the smallest rejections as if we feel exactly the same as we do when we're with the narcissist, or worse, because it proves what the narcissist proves in our head, that what the narcissist was saying was true all along, right? Does that make sense? So what can you do? What can you do? I think number one, you absolutely acknowledging your feelings about the situation. So say you have, I'll try to think of different scenarios. Right now my head's on dating, because that is a big, big, big place when we try to put ourselves back out there after narcissistic abuse, and we feel like we've healed long enough. It can be years, and we feel like, okay, we're fine and we can do this. And we have one rejection from someone we think is the right person, right? Or someone that having a rejection from someone that's like, whatever, that doesn't matter. But when it's someone you think it can work with, right? And things seem to line up, and there's a rejection, there's a lot of grief behind that moment when you realize that it's not going to be what you hoped it would be. And there's a lot of feelings around it that are absolutely valid to feel, because you have spent however long you spent leading up to this meeting or going out or hanging out with this person. You have all this time that you've put into it, where you've built hope. And because we're survivors, hope is a scary place. Hope is not this place of bliss and joy and we dance around in the flowers. Hope is this place of impending doom half the time, right? And we're working on not having hope be that, but there is this fear around hope, yet we're doing it anyway. We're going in anyway. And then something happens and it doesn't work out. It can be completely crushing, because it feels like you just proved that you should never have had hope to begin with. It's completely devastating. And that doesn't mean you aren't ready to be out there per se. What it means is that you have now seen what rejection is like for you now, and you would do well to potentially work on what that really means for you. Is looking at how you're reacting to your own emotions. So acknowledging your feelings and validating your feelings and 100% believing your feelings are two different things. So yes, the feelings are real. I believe they're real. I know they're here. But do I need to let them determine what my next move is? No, you just need to feel them and grieve a day or two. Sometimes it just takes a few days to recover from something like that, even though you barely know this person. It's not about that person. It's about the patterns of your life. And in order to change the patterns of your life, you have to change the way you react to the things that happen when you're within a pattern. Does that make sense? Okay. So once you have acknowledged what you're feeling, that you can start looking for the belief you have about yourself within that feeling. Maybe it's, I'm not good enough for anyone anyway, or this is, whatever that belief is, whatever that underlying belief is probably a place you're limiting yourself. it's probably a place that isn't accurate. Okay. It feels accurate. And you've had the experience of it being proven, so to speak, that it's accurate because you've been around toxic people, but it's not accurate. It's a belief set up because of the patterning, right? So look at the beliefs that come from what you're feeling when you feel rejection. Write them down. Get really familiar with those beliefs. Those are the places that you can work to change those beliefs, right? And exercises like, affirmations around it and sort of dissecting the belief to see logically that it's not true. How could it possibly be true? And one other way would be to look for successes in your life, even tiny ones that disprove a belief. So there's ways to work with that belief. But if you don't know what it is that you actually believe about yourself, then you're stuck in the loop, right? So figure it out. And then acceptance. What does that even mean, right? Number one, it's not about you. It's not about you that another person rejected you. It's not about you if you didn't get hired for a job. Potentially, it's not about you 100%. Let's put it that way. Okay. There's a piece of you in there, of course, but that's not to say that it's because you're bad or you're wrong. It's perhaps there's something that you could change. And we'll go to the next one after that, which is what can you learn from it? How can you grow? How can you grow and learn from what the rejection was? But first you got to kind of accept what's going on. You got to accept what's going on and acknowledge what you're feeling about it. Accept what's truly happening. So in other words, say, we'll go back to the dating thing. Say someone rejects someone for what seems like no real reason. Like it seemed like it was going fine. And it seems like it must just be me because there was no other reason. Maybe I'm not pretty or maybe I'm not whatever, whatever your head's going right with it. But the truth is it's about the other person. Mostly it's about the other person. If it is about you, perhaps it's something amazing about you. You're so amazing that person realizes there's no way they can join you halfway. You know what I mean? You don't know how that person's reacting to you because they haven't invested enough to even matter. Right. But we have this reaction as if what they're saying or not getting a job or whatever it is the most important thing in the world versus what we believe about ourselves being most important. Am I making sense? I'm kind of all over here. Okay. So when you're in it though, that's just all thoughts. Okay. Yes, I can acknowledge my feelings and I can sit on the floor and cry and I can do this and sure, I can try to accept that it's not just me. It's not about me. It's about the other person. But this is a case where it's not only something that's happening in the moment that you're reacting to, but you're reacting to your past. And so you're super triggered. So getting active can help. Getting active and doing something. Clean the house. Do something positive and productive so that at least at the end of the day, you can say, well, I did that well. I did that thing well. I took care of that. It may not feel like you want to because it's kind of depressing, but get up and move and do something. Another thing is to talk about it. Talk about it with someone you can trust. Do not talk about it with someone who's going to point out your flaws, someone who's going to make you feel worse, someone who's going to tell you something like, well, other people have it harder. Things like that. Go to someone who will actually just listen to you and say, yeah, that's hard, or whatever they say that makes you feel better. Go to someone positive. If you don't have that, journal it and tell it to yourself. Tell yourself what you need to hear in that situation, not what you want to reinforce. Tell yourself what you want to, or rather, what am I trying to say? Not what you would reinforce if you were going with the negative beliefs and the darker feelings, but what you want to reinforce, what you want to create and reinforce. So try to find a voice to talk to yourself through your journaling that is, if not inspiring, and the very least supportive. All right. And be kind to yourself as you do it. Listen to that inner dialogue and don't let, I'm going to come back and read all of that, Paula, as soon as I finish this. And then, because I think you're saying something important there. And I mean, obviously, right? So listen to your inner dialogue and be kind to yourself. Restate those negative voices. It's super important, very important, because especially when there's rejection involved, because it's kind of the kick in the teeth, right? The rejection is the basis of the devaluing, right? Every time you're devalued, you're being rejected. That's what it feels like. It feels like you're being rejected to your core for who you are, for how you are, for the way you look, for the every aspect of your personal person, right? So remember that if you've had narcissistic abuse, then you have sorry, I'm laughing at a smiley face on the screen who was laughing at my silly talking. Anyway, it's what was I talking about? That you know, being kind to yourself. As you're being kind to yourself, reach out to someone else and be kind to them. Tiny ways. It doesn't matter. Grab a box off a shelf for some little old lady who's reaching up for it. You know, do something. Do something for someone else. This is a trigger that's happening that's also in real time. So you're having a moment of rejection, which hurts anyway, even if you haven't had narcissistic abuse. And you're having a trigger back to one of the deeper wounds of narcissistic abuse, which is the devaluing. But you're not in that unless you are in the situation. I'm talking more about like when you're away from a narcissist and you are thrown way back in what you feel like progress of your healing is because of rejection. So doing something kind for someone else, simple, little tiny things, just to do it. Because getting out of yourself in that kind of situation can be really helpful. And it also shows you, you know what? It's again, like being active. It shows you that you do care about what's going on in the world and people around you. And it gives you something to prove to yourself as well, that not that you're seeking the validation in the person saying thank you, which is nice too, but it's not the point. The point is that you're showing yourself who you really are, and that all of this rejection that you're feeling is just programming. All right. Somebody asked a question about, do you think withholding is rejection or abuse? It's both. Withholding is both. Withholding, so rejection after sexual withholding, if that's what you're talking about. The feeling of rejection. I mean, it creates a massive feeling of rejection that goes deeply into your intimate life, into love, into connection, all of it, right? So yes, it's absolutely abusive. I mean, saying no is not abusive. Okay. Saying I'm not in the mood. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about continuous withholding when you can tell that it's somebody doing it manipulatively. That is absolutely abusive, and it is rejection. So it's a form of devaluing, right? Which sets up the rejection. You can reaffirm the successes that you've had in your life. So if this is something pertaining to, I don't know, a career move, and you didn't get the promotion or whatever, and you're super disappointed and you feel rejected by the whole, you know, nobody sees you for what you're worth, and, you know, you go on and on, whatever you're telling yourself, and you're really upset about it. Try to reaffirm successes you've had in your careers, even if they're tiny. It doesn't matter if they match. Here's the thing. When we feel rejected, we feel like we need often the thing that makes it better to be equally as intense as the way this rejection feels. And what I'm suggesting is find little things to build the mountain up. In other words, don't go trying to find, well, this is a worse rejection than any success I've ever had. My successes have all been small. Everything bad happens big, and everything small is teeny tiny, right? I think we've all probably experienced that on some level. And so, but if you add up all those little tiny, teeny tiny things, you might have a much larger feeling of success if you allow it in. So there's that. I'm going to go back here. Okay. All right. Let's see. Listen to the conditioning and programming and restate it. Listen to what you're hearing yourself tell yourself. It's kind of back to what I was saying about hearing your beliefs, but listen to what you're saying to yourself around it that feels like you're rejecting yourself. Does that make sense? Listen to the voice in your head, because what it'll be is an echo usually of something you've heard from someone toxic. And right there, you can see that this has nothing to do with me. This has to do with what I've been taught about myself. And you can work to change that around. Oh, here's a good one. So we tend to be perfectionists, right? At least when it comes to how we perceive ourselves and how we think we need to be in the world, right? We think, oh, don't bark, don't bark. I tell the kids, don't go in and out. It makes the dogs bark. So they're using the back door today to do the same thing. Okay. Anyway, allow yourself to be wrong and make mistakes. This is kind of big. Allow that there is a possibility that there is, so even though it's about the other person, it's about the other, it's not necessarily 100% about you, why you're rejected. There can be a lesson to be learned about what did I do in that situation that I could have done differently? Is there anything? Sometimes there's not. Sometimes it's just sheer rejection based on somebody else's likes, dislikes, preferences, mood. It doesn't matter. And sometimes you can say, well, I guess I did text the guy 15 times that day. That was a little much. Maybe I should cut it back to once. You know what I mean? Like, or I guess I did, I guess when I did stay up all night before I went to that job interview. That probably wasn't too smart. I could have slept, and that might have made it a little bit better. So it's like learning where you can improve the little bits of your life around the situation so that you actually learn something from the rejection, and it gives the rejection that you're feeling a little bit of meaning and a little bit of purpose. And again, I'll just repeat it. In what way can you grow from this experience? In what way can you grow? Not in what way can you stay in the feeling of you're not worth anything, and not in what way can you sit and believe the negative beliefs you have about your life, but what way can you grow from it? What can you learn? So that's what I got on rejection right now. And I'm going to go to you guys and read all of this lovely stuff you are writing, or maybe not all of it, but some of it. I don't have an issue with the rejection, to be honest. It's the contradictions and changing the rules. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, when you're talking about still being with them, and that's a totally different, if you're talking about with a narcissist, totally different topic, because number one, I don't consider rejection, even when a narcissist discards. I consider that a discard, plain and simple. The narcissist isn't operating on the same wavelength, so to speak, as people who are not narcissists. They are operating on a very self-serving way of thinking, right? So, and it isn't really rejection from a narcissist. It's a devalue and a discard, and that's all it is. And it's 100% about them. It is. Okay. Let's go back. What's going on here, you guys? You're talking about, okay. Is there any questions I missed in here, or anything you want me to read about? And I will look back, because there's a whole lot of chat going on, and I am missing the boat here. Sorry. When I read, I can't read and talk at the same time. I don't know why. Rejection. That's the complete method the narc uses with me. Yeah. Stonewalling, silent treatment, not ever looking into my eyes, actually telling me when I'm sharing new knowledge that I couldn't care less. Ugh. Right? And so you feel rejected. What they're doing is reflecting who they are. The narcissist is reflecting who they are in that. You feel rejected by it, because that's your source of that's your person who you go to for validation. So in your case, I'd say find validation outside of that through healthy exchanges with people who actually want to hear you and see you. And if there is no one, you give that to yourself, and you do it through a journal. You can any way you can, take a walk by yourself and, listen to your thoughts and talk to yourself if you have to. It doesn't matter. Whatever you need to do to give yourself the validation that you need for your life right now. You don't need to stonewall silent treatment or not look into your own eyes. You can go look in the mirror and look into your eyes, right? Do it for yourself. Find a friend, find a therapist, a coach, whatever you need to give you that validation back that you exist, right? And that you matter, and that it isn't rejection. So when a narc does it, when a narcissistic person is doing all of those things and making you feel rejected, because that's what it does, understand that that is it's their mode of operation, and that's their need to control the situation through negativity. Okay. How do you know whether your own beliefs are correct? Like whether you were right or wrong. About what? Web education? It depends on what you're talking about. When I'm talking about beliefs, when I was talking about it earlier, excuse me, I was talking about our inner dialogue we tell ourselves about why something is right or wrong about ourself. For instance, if I'm feeling rejected and I think, well, what's a belief I might have? I don't really have a place in this world anyway. I don't really fit in here anyway. So I don't know why I bother. Why bother trying? I completely give up. Now, you can hear when I say that, how self-limiting that is. How do you get out from that, right? That's the kind of belief I'm talking about. But you're saying, like with calling 15 times as an example. Oh, so how do you know if your actions are right or wrong? How do you know if what you're doing is right or wrong, so that then you can judge whether? I would say you can look at the situation. It depends on the situation, totally, right? So I would look at a situation and think, okay, I was rejected by this situation. I was rejected by this person. Let's just say a friend. Okay, I was rejected by this friend. They don't want to hang out. Okay, what am I doing? Where is my piece? They're not a narcissist. Okay, I know they're not toxic. We're going with them being not toxic. Talking about toxic people, totally different topic, right? And I might ask myself, I might look at my own actions in the situation and think, oh, you know what? I knew they were busy and I called them anyway. That was really crossing their boundary. I could in the future perhaps wait to call, or give a text and just saying, hey, call when you have time. And that's when I would judge my actions. And it's not a judgment of like, I'm wrong, I shouldn't have done that. It's what could I have done differently in order to learn from it? Does that make sense? Or sort of like if you fail at something and you see all the ingredients that you put in, and you see all the things that you tried that you put in, well, what part of that equation made it not work? Is there any piece that you could change in the future? Does that make sense? But not in a way where you're criticizing yourself. Oh, good. That makes sense. Okay. Not in a way where you're getting so critical of yourself that then you're going back to that belief, the negative beliefs about why you should have been rejected in the first place, right? Oh, I'm so stupid. So stupid for calling them when I knew they were busy. That's not what I'm talking about. It's more getting through all the other stuff first, the acceptance and the really looking at your beliefs about yourself and grieving a little bit about what happened, and then coming back and saying, okay, now what can I learn for next time? Or even maybe I should apologize and start over. It just depends on the situation. But anyway, let's see. Okay. Where are we? Because this is the longest dismissal, I feel so anxious, and a lot of anxiety is horrible. Panic attacks now also. I hate anxiety. I really do. And so how do you get them out of your head? Are you ready to go no contact? Are you ready? What are you ready to do, Paula? What do you want? That's what I want to know first. Okay. She says, I want to have sex, just not with you. And then she refuses to divorce or leave. Why? Oh, because you're still supply. Because that's a form of withholding is a form of sexual control. It's a form of intimacy manipulation, right? And so she wants all the other stuff. She wants all the other supply, and she wants to be able to, it's a she, right? Yeah. She wants to be able to control the situation through the withholding and through the cruelty. To say that, to withhold is one thing, and to say that is another, right? That's just cruel. And it's confusing. It creates cognitive dissonance, right? Because you're sitting there thinking, well, then she must love me, right? Or I don't know what you're thinking, but I would think, well, if they don't want this, but they're still with me, they must really love me, right? But it's not that. A narcissist just they want to control the situation. They want to push away intimacy. They want to do you see how much power she has by that? By saying, I don't want you and you're still there? Do you see what that says? It sets up an unwritten, unspoken contract that you'll stay no matter what. And she can do whatever she wants with it, whatever abuses. Okay. Lise, do you have any suggestions for a narcissist who constantly interrupts me during the discussion? I get exactly 2.5 words out before they start screaming again. What's the best way to respond? I wouldn't have a discussion. I would gray rock and I would gray rock, and I wouldn't engage. I wouldn't engage. If you can't get away from them, I think you're in a situation where you said you can't get away, right? At least not right now. So coping means a lot of gray rocking. And when you're gray rocking, try to hold on to yourself inside so you're not getting infuriated. Just name the behavior. Observe, don't absorb, so to speak. Name the behavior in your own head. Oh, they're deflecting. Oh, they're projecting. Okay, now they're going to gaslight. Here it comes. Okay, and I know that feeling. Yeah, I know exactly that feeling. And I just stopped talking. I 100% stopped talking. And in a sense, kind of silenced, like a heavy gray rock where it's almost a silent treatment, but not one where it was obvious, just not engaging. Right. Let's see here. Oops, it's jumped. Okay. Mine did that constantly. If I race home only to be told I'm tired, I'm going to bed now, talk tomorrow, knowing I raced after my job. Okay, I missed part of that. I'm sorry. I think it was related to something I was saying a while ago. Good, I skipped back, and that's what happens. Okay. What else? Okay. Any rejection, big or small, takes me back to how I felt when I was a little girl getting reprimanded by my dad. Exactly. And that's where you listen to your inner voice and your inner dialogue that is telling you what you believe about that rejection, in my opinion, right? What do you believe about yourself in that rejection? And you can grieve that belief. Okay. Those beliefs are going to hurt. They're not pleasant. That's that kind of dark, nasty trap belief, right? That keeps you trapped in a situation in your life. And then you can restate it. You can work to change the belief. There are ways to change the belief through therapy, through coaching, through with self-work. I would say really looking for examples that sort of defy that belief, looking for ways to see how you aren't the thing that you've been taught to believe about yourself so that you can create a new one. Mine withheld for 3 months, and she said she was needing time to trust me. Trust me on what? Baffled me. And yes, I waited, but finally thought, what the hell is this now? So that was my final breaking point. Okay. Too many insults. I struggled to finish the sentences. She eventually would blab, not even say words. This was a 45-year-old woman. Oh my gosh, right? Okay, there we go. Blurry. What's that? Okay. Thank you for the wisdom. Returning to intimacy after 2 years. I've always believed I would be thrilled, but your description of what would happen made me decide I will never allow it. Which part? What are you talking about there? You believed you would be thrilled by what? I'm lost. I'm sorry. I think I lost myself. I lost myself, guys. Right. Give Lise to read thread. Sorry, it's okay. I think I need to get a test for things. It's okay. I do too. I understand. I'm just a little silly today. So, all right. Another thing I want to say, somewhere in yesterday's stream, I was talking about how the narcissist uses sex as supply. Somebody mentioned something about why they have multiple partners. My words were something to, and I'm paraphrasing because I did not go back and listen to it yet, but I will when I have my moment. I said something about secondary supplies is nothing more than being used for sex. They're nothing more than being supply. There's supply for sex. There's supply for some need. Okay. Secondary supply, not necessarily sex, but they're not being used for everything. They're usually being used for one or two things. In other words, supply at work is going to look secondary supply at work, meaning you don't work with your partner, right? You're a coworker. You're not in their life every day, every second. You're not under their influence every second of the day, right? But you're still supply, right? But that is a totally different form of supply that the narcissist is getting than they are from the primary person in their life, because the mask will stay on with that person. Because what a narcissist will do is wear a certain mask for work, say, okay? And so you're only seeing that piece of the narcissistic abuse. You're not seeing the full gamut of it. And someone was really upset with me because they felt that I was dismissing their pain because they were secondary supply. And I was not attempting to dismiss their pain. And I apologize if it came out that way. What I was trying to say was, no matter what, when you're dealing with a narcissist in a sexual situation, you are being used. And that they use sex as power and control, and it isn't about intimacy because they cannot have intimacy. And I understand that when you are because what they said is they didn't even know, I don't remember the whole situation, but I'm going to paraphrase it. They didn't even know that there was a whole other life that this narcissist had, perhaps, or that they're drawn into a situation that they don't know, just like the rest of us. And that's 100% true most of the time. Sometimes that people know and they do it anyway, and whatever, and that's a whole other topic. But when you don't know what you don't know what's hit you. Of course it hurts. And I'm not trying to diminish anyone's pain or the abuse that they suffered or how it's affected their life in any way, shape, or form, of course, right? I want to make sure they feel heard and validated, that they are equally as, it's as important in this, and that their pain is real, and I understand. What my point was, I was trying to make, was that it doesn't matter what form of sexual relation you have with a narcissist, that it's always about the narcissist and their control and their power and their need for something back for themselves. It is not about intimacy or love. Okay. That was it. So that is my little disclaimer. Let's see. She withdrew because on our Valentine's Day break, I wouldn't get out of bed, and I was so withdrawn from the verbal abuse. I was depressed. She lost it. Her face went weird-eyed black with rage. So, yeah. I've been thinking about this. Let me think about what I want to say to that. If I can come up with it, I will reply, because I've been thinking about how they drain us dry, and how then we no longer are the shiny new happy person that they can suck the life out of, and they get frustrated and mad and act like little babies about it. Lisa, I was referring to the narcissist initiating intimacy with me again. You explained how you would feel if you allowed it. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, the dissociation that happens, right, when you, yeah, I know. Okay. Yes, mine use sex, don't know how to be intimate. They go off and do washing or something to avoid it, right? Jack, hello. Mine turned all her family and friends against me. I wasn't allowed anyone anymore to join in with Sunday and Tuesday meals. She'd bring me back dinner. Oh, that ostracizing crushed me. So abusive, right? It does take a lot of, web education says it takes a lot of energy to walk on eggshells. It wore me out. It takes so much energy. They drain you dry, and then you're left there with, you become a different person, right? You're worn out. You're tired, you're drained, and there's nothing left of the joy and happy person that you could be, right? Even if you never were super up, right? It's gone. But usually we are, because that's what they're after. So yeah, that's a different topic again. But yeah, I've been thinking about that past couple days, about how much energy you get back afterwards, right? And the ability to laugh and be joyful comes back, hopefully. And if not, then you work to find it, right? All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we're done here? Any questions about anything? Doesn't matter. Well, it kind of matters. I don't do car repair or anything, but anyway, okay. What shall I do if that wimping "I love you" text comes, Lise? Thing is, we have a massive energy, real or not. You can't deny it's there. At a certain point, Paula, my friend, it's time to make the break, right? If you know this person is toxic for your life, at a certain point, accepting they are who they are and they're not going to change is the most painful and the most freeing moment of your life. Super hard. Well, I don't know if it's the most painful in your life, but it's pretty painful, right? And it's pretty difficult. And when the Hoover texts come, we're going to call it what it is. It's a way to suck you back in. When they're trying to suck you back in, you ignore it and you block them. I'd block them ahead of time so they can't come back in. But if you haven't set that up and you don't feel comfortable doing that, then, finding a way to do that appropriately, or making that "I love you" text the goodbye text. So maybe having a play that you're ready, and if that comes, you say, "No, I can't do this anymore. Goodbye." Whatever it is, finding a way to end it. You lose a friend also. I know you lose. Okay. So what are you afraid of in the loss? Let me ask you that. This is what I had to be asked. What are you afraid of in that loss? I don't want to wait, because you lose a friend. I can't seem to delete her from my WhatsApp. I don't want it, but my head thinks you might miss something important. And what are you afraid of? So here's a question you can always ask myself. So what? Just keep going with that. So what? Well, if I miss them, then this. Well, so what? Well, then this. Well, so what? Keep going with it until you come to your real fear. What are you actually afraid of? And look at that fear square in the eyes, because it's oftentimes the hook that keeps us people pleasers and us loneliness. But what's so scary about loneliness? See, I'll go with this. What's so scary about loneliness? I mean, look at the world of people who are alone. I'm one of them. Loneliness, sure, it happens, but so does an enormous joy, right? And I can't have that when I have a toxic person in my life, even for a minute, right? It completely drains me. So I was afraid of being lonely. Took a while to get over this, right? I don't mix or trust many. I was a public okay. So you're afraid of loneliness because it's difficult to find people to trust. Is that what you're saying? I think a lot of us feel that too. And I'm not saying so what and so what, who cares? I mean, just keep tracing it down to finding why. What are you afraid of in letting go of someone toxic? And then you can ask yourself, well, would I benefit if I didn't have this in my life? Right? I mean, you can feel the benefit when they're not around, but you can't really if you're waiting for that Hoover text, right? Okay. Maybe make it. Oh no, don't bark, you guys. We don't need you talking. Thank you, Oswald. Initially, I was afraid. Let's see. Maybe because when initially lonely, You're only thinking about them. Exactly. You're thinking about what you've lost. When we're lonely, oftentimes what we're thinking about is what's missing, not what we have. And what you have when you don't have a toxic person in your life is you have freedom. You have breathing room. Hey, 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 hey. You have barking dogs. You guys, shh. Shh, shh, shh. Hey, Ruby. Ruby. I may have to end if they're just getting the kids. It's summer. Yay. You have all kinds of things that you can't have when you have a toxic person in your life. You have the freedom to have friends, to talk to your family, to express yourself openly. Even if you're sitting alone in your room talking, you can do that without criticism. You have the freedom to not be devalued, to be appreciated for who you are, even if you're the only one appreciating yourself. Okay, there's all kinds of freedoms that you gain. And so what is it, contrasting that with what it is to be with them can help show you that the loneliness, I'm not going to say it's not lonely. It is. It's lonely to leave. It is 100%. Most people feel loneliness. Some people are like, yes, and they're so alleviated, but most people come back to some sort of loneliness, right? It's probably one of the more difficult parts. And it's also the trauma bonds that you're talking about too. When the trauma bonds are holding you there, plus you fear the loneliness, well, it's like, you're waiting for the narcissist to come and fix this anxiety, right? Because we're looking to the source of our pain for the relief, which is trauma bonding. So there's a lot to this. It's not simple, Paula, right? I'm grateful for you too, Belle. Okay. There's a double edge to my life as I'm known publicly. Understood. Yeah, okay. I'm not sure. I attract narcissistic. Everybody wants sex. I sound like a narcissist now. No, I understand. It's not, I think they're attracted to anyone who will have them. That's the problem, is you are a person that has a high tolerance, perhaps. That's my problem. Oh, they're going to bark again. Don't bark. Shh. Having a high tolerance for abuse usually means that we're able to dissociate really easily and cope with what's happening around us and sort of take it. And because you were abused. Yeah. And so building your self-worth and seeing that you're worth more than that, and that there is life outside of it. There really, really is. And loneliness isn't the worst thing in the world. Being with a narcissist can be. Does that make sense? It's sort of like we choose the evil that we know. We choose the darkness that we know because we know we can cope with it. But this loneliness thing, man, that's a place I don't know, and don't want to go there. And every time I've been there, it's been horrible. So why would I want to go there, right? Yeah. It's just a place to examine, right? Examine and look at and see where you can, how to live alone. Yeah. How to live alone. One step at a time is what I do. I trudge, but you know what? It's good. There's a lot of good to it as well. I missed something here as well. Ruby, how sweet. And they talk. You're welcome for the smile. Okay. Hi, Diane. Let's see. Paula, you can get sucked back in 10 times. Hi, Robin. But eventually you will have had enough, and this no contact will be for you. There is a limit. This is how we find our limit, though. When you are a master dissociator, okay, when you're really good at tolerance, and you're really good at seeing the good in people, and you're really good at accepting that people have bad sides, right, and dark sides, and that you can take it, and you know how much you can take, and you're willing to take it, right, just so you have the person in your life. If you start looking at it, you start to become uncomfortable with it, and that's how you find your way into going no contact. Also, meanwhile, start looking for joy in your life when they're not around. That's what I would do. I would start looking for anything positive when that narc's not around, when the narcissist is not in your face, when they're not around you. What do you feel? Start feeling the joy. And then there's contrast when they are around or when they do contact you. And you feel that anxiety. And anytime you have that anxiety around another person, there's some big old red flag going off in you telling you to retreat, right? And then that's when the trauma bonds and the cognitive dissonance and all that gets in there and says, oh, but no. So listen to when you feel good and listen to when you feel horrible. And start realizing that this tolerance is actually hurting you. Okay. And that the fear of loneliness, I mean, as you learn to trust so what happens here, Paula, is when we do this thing where we keep, I'm going to say allowing, I don't mean allowing like it's all your fault. I understand the trauma bonds are there and we understand what's going on, right? Your book for a therapist soon. Good. Okay. When you have, no, I lost the thought. Allowing. When we, oh gosh, it was a good one too. Darn it. I'll remember. I'll remember. Okay. What was I reading? Oh, I was thinking about, okay, trust. There we go. Found it. So learning to trust yourself. When you have to protect yourself because you are a public figure, you've been a public figure, people do want to use you. It's true. People are, when you have money, when you have success, when you have anything in your life, other people want, you are going to have a certain amount of people who want that too. And they want to take it from you, or they want to ride on your, whatever, they want to ride on your success and build their own success. It's not a genuine, I like you. Oh my gosh, we do well together. Let's do this thing. And if I become successful because I know you, great. If I don't, great, whatever. But it's not that. It's them using you for their own gain. When this is happening, and this, I think this is what you were talking about, that it can totally break your trust in people. Yeah, experienced that in LA, right? It can totally make it so how do you know who to trust? So what you can learn is to trust yourself. But the problem is when you're in a narcissistic relationship and you know it, okay? And I think you know it, right? And you know it, and you're allowing because of tolerance. I don't mean allowing it because you're at fault and to blame or anything. What I'm saying is when part of yourself knows that you're just being tolerant. So you're learning to not trust yourself, right? And so then how can you trust anyone else? So as you go no contact, as you learn that it's okay to be by yourself, that it's okay to let them go, you will hopefully start working on self-trust so that you can see that you take care of yourself. Because if you can't trust yourself 100% if you're not taking care of yourself, right? You're just tolerating. You don't want to just tolerate your life. You want to enjoy it, right? Okay. Does that make sense? Oh, good. A therapist should help with that too. I'd rather be lonely than spend another 5 years with a narcissist. No contact has helped me a lot. Not perfect, but much better. Right. It isn't perfect. It's not easy, and loneliness happens, and it's going to happen. So look at why you fear it, right? And how the question, how to live alone, is a good one. How? I don't know. Tell me. What are your fears about it, and how can you do it? My 7-year-old is starting to tell me my narcissist she doesn't care how my narcissist feels about what she is about to do. Any thoughts? Is this the beginning of resentment? Probably. She's probably mirroring off of her mother? Her mother's behavior to the narcissist behavior as well. At that age, that's a copycat age, Okay. Agreed. No contact is the only way to get enough distance to see your hope is actually a trauma bond. Oh, tough. So that actually made me want to cry. It's so true. Yeah. Okay. I believe all of us have questioned that we are the narcissist. I heard just asking the question is proof you're not. Plus you have empathy. Yeah. The combination. If you were joking, I'm so sorry. It's okay. Lise, I just want a normal relationship. I've tried men and women, no luck. Here's the thing though, Paula. You will never find it with a narcissist. And your chances, this is what I was told, and I'll just say it as I was told it. Your chances of finding it, staying with them, and remaining in contact are 0 or very, very slim. Your chances of finding it if you go no contact are 50-50. So which are better odds? Because if you stay with them, you're stuck in a toxic relationship forever, or forever long until they final discard. And they do. They get sick of it, and they do final discard almost always. And we hope so, because sometimes that's the only way out. I can start now with animals, although I'm looking at a French bulldog. How fun. They're loyal and they don't nag. Yes. We need to heal ourselves before we attract a healthy partner. This is true. There's a reason we choose to stay with abusive partners for so long. That's right. That's true. Even if your reason is simply the trauma bonds, it takes time to heal those. Even for people without histories of abuse, it takes time to become healthy after a narcissist, right? Because of all the damage they cause. So we are getting close to the end here, and I like the way this turned into a different topic, but it was relevant enough to be very interesting. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Oh, your birthday's coming up. Go by yourself to Greece. Oh my gosh. Have much more fun, don't you think? Travel with narcissists is horrible. It's horrible. Horrible, horrible. Yeah. Never gone that far with one, but don't think I want to. Anything else? What am I missing here? Sunday, happy birthday. Happy birthday, because I will not talk to you before then. Enjoy yourself. I'm online, so I'm looking, but I know I'm not ready. Okay. Find what find what you are. That's a whole nother topic. Let's talk about that another time, because that's soon. That's a good one. How to become ready, how to heal, right? How to heal that part. And loneliness isn't a reason to be dating. That's the other aspect. It's part of a reason, of course. Otherwise, where'd the drive come from, right? But it's not the core reason. All right. My happiest, most joyful times in my life were when I was alone. You come to treasure it. I remember the terror of my first month. It ends. It's true. It's true. When you're alone, here's the thing. When you're alone for a while, and when you're alone, it doesn't take long for some people. But if you start seeking joy when you're alone, and you start seeking yourself again, okay, because you lose yourself in these relationships. When you start seeking the things that bring you joy, working on your career, working on your family, whatever it is you enjoy working on or you want to work on in your life, and you start to feel the freedom and you start to feel the joy, the loneliness isn't the same as no one's going to love me. It's where can I share this joy? Okay, which is a totally different loneliness. It's not a bad loneliness. It's sort of a romantic loneliness in a sense, right? Because it's instead of no one's going to love me in this horrible, I'll never find anyone and no one can see me, and that it's not that. It's you're so happy with the way life is that the loneliness is in just wanting to share that with someone else. And so it's totally different, and it's not a bad thing. And I think we don't understand. Maybe we need to understand loneliness more. Maybe we need to really experience it in all of its, as survivors. I don't know. I'm just thinking in all of its different shades and colors until we can come to where loneliness is also joyful and in a way that is just a desire to share the beauty of life rather than this need to have somebody else there to fill the emptiness we have. Does that make sense? Where can I share this joy? Thank you. I have not thought about that way before. Yeah, I just thought of it right now because I was picturing walking today and something was just making me really happy. And I had that feeling of like, oh, I just want to share this with someone. And then I felt really lonely for a minute, but then it wasn't the same as like making me, if I cried, it would have been sort of happy cry. You know what I mean? It wasn't the same as the darker loneliness that comes over. So, okay. Let's see. All right. Okay, anything else you guys have or want to talk about before we end today? If not, then we'll stop in a second here, and I will be back Monday. You have a great evening too, Web Education. Robin says, I agree. The loneliness after such an intense relationship can be numbing at times. I would love this topic to be discussed. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Especially with this realization that it changes, that loneliness doesn't stay this one thing. Ooh, I like it. I'm having an epiphany right here before your eyes. Okay. How many times a week and what times are you on, Lise? Then that is the question of the day. Oh, Paula, that I could answer that. I am aiming for 5 days a week. Right now, I did 4 this week, I believe. 3 or 4. I did 4. Yes. Okay, I got it. My times have varied. Generally, the earliest I'm on is like 9 to 9:30 Pacific. So you'll have to translate that because I have no clue. I'd have to look on my little phone thing to figure out your time zone. And the latest I come on is like about right now. So I haven't been doing evenings or anything on my time. And I've been doing Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, between 9 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon Pacific. Some point in there, I can try and narrow a time, but the thing is with my schedule, it can vary depending on if a client needs something or if the children need something, or when, it gets crazy in the summer. So anyway, 11 p.m. or 10 p.m. Yeah. So I'm, and I try to do some early and then some a little bit later so that people from other places can come. And I think the earlier days, what day did I do earlier? Tuesday, sometimes Monday, generally not Friday. Some Thursdays, I generally wait for Angie and Dana to go first. So I think they're on Thursdays, or are they doing Tuesdays? You see, that's the other thing. I can't coordinate with everybody else. All right. You're welcome. You guys have a good weekend. I'm reading real quick here. Takes time to get past the fear. Suddenly you wake up one day and realize I can do whatever I want on a Saturday morning and all day. And there are lonely times, but only a few. That's right. Okay. All right. Okay, good. Okay, excellent. Here we go. So if you have not already hit the subscribe button, please do so. If you enjoy this and you would like to see more, you can hit the notifications button and you will get notifications before I go on. If you would like to be texted before I go live, please text me at 33222 Lise Live, LISELIVE, all one word, and you will be sent a notification about 5 to 10 minutes prior, and no other notifications will be sent. And if you enjoyed this topic, or you want more topics like this, or you just feel like hitting the thumbs up, hit the like button so that I know which topics are ones that people would like to hear or are useful to you and can add more in the future. And if you have anything you want to talk about ever, or any ideas for topics or questions that you want me to answer, go ahead and put them in the comment section, not the chat section, but the comment section of any video. I try to go through and read those every day and answer them. And I do keep notes of people's topic ideas, and as the spark arises, I get to them. Okay. Next week, I want to talk. There's 2 things I want to do. Oh, that's right. Okay. So there's one thing. If you have anything that you would like to say to a narcissist, if you were to write them a letter, a farewell, this is who you are letter. Okay. I have something written up, but I want to add other people's voices to it so that people have a sense of validation that they've got to speak something about what it's like to be with them. Send it to me and I will add it to this glorious Dear Narc letter and we'll read it we'll read it live just for fun. Okay. And then the other one was next week, I want to talk about mirroring, the narcissist and mirroring, which is part of the grooming process, and also how they interact with others, especially when they don't know you, and how they meet you to help you stay protected when you are meeting new people, or even to validate what you experienced when you met your narcissist. And the other thing I wanted to talk about next week, hopefully, is more on sex and the narcissist, but along the lines of what you can do to reclaim your own power within that after you have left the relationship. If you're still in it, it's going to be difficult. There are things I'm sure you can do, but I want to talk about that. So if anyone has ideas or anything they want to add to that before I go on live, go ahead and leave them in any comments, and that's just kind of what I'm working on next week. So we'll see. And it may change, but I'll try to do those. Okay. Talk to you guys later. Thank you. And you take care. Bye-bye. I got to find the end stream button. There we go.